it's when you're a kid, you start out doing this stuff because it's fun. Then it becomes your business, and you have to treat it a little more seriously, but it should still be fun.
Yeah, you don't take it seriously.
And even, you know, these decades afterwards, you go on stage, it's still fun, you know. It can be chaotic fun, it can be disastrous fun, it can be amazing fun. Even the bad bits when you look back
We
are
normally
funny.
burst out laughing when something terrible happens, yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, nobody makes you go on stage. You go on stage because you want to. And you get behind that instrument or that microphone because you want to. It's fun, you know.
It is a family, yeah, absolutely.
Dysfunctional, but
As all families are, really, yeah. But it's a changing family. It's about how many people in the band now? 14 or something like that we've been through?
I think it's even more, it's deeper than that. You know, you go back to, I don't know, if you go back and watch video of, say, 40 years ago, are you that same guy? Do you recognize that guy? No, I don't.
I don't.
I don't recognize the young me. I can't remember what he was like.
I'd never wear those boots again.
And so that changes, you know you were there, you did stuff, but occasionally I see little clips come up on YouTube and I have no recollection of me doing that. It's so long ago, and a small moment of your life suddenly is captured forever, and you see, I know it's me, but I have no memory of doing these things at all. So they're different people than what you are now. You're so far removed from them, it's frightening, really.
I just recently looked at a list of all the gigs we've ever done. And it goes on for days. I mean, page after page after page after page. And you realize then in that sudden moment that you're looking at your life, it's a very fortunate life. But it does require a great deal of sacrifice from family and your freedom. You lose your friends and stuff like that. But on the other hand, it's a kind of, it's a destiny. It feels like you didn't choose that life, it chose you. And you end up being where you are through a kind of series of minor miracles and scrapes and fights and bad times and good times, and somehow they all kind of roll into one. And here we are, that experience of going through those, even though you forget them. I mean, I looked at gigs, I thought, I can't remember playing there. But it's all part of what you become. And that experience goes into how we play and how we write.
The hardest thing to do is to create a piece of music like Smoke on the Water. The simplicity it's difficult, man. That's the nonsense of it. Being complicated is quite easy. It's limitless, you can do what you want. Keeping something simple and to the point, that's
yeah, it's the hardest thing to do.
That's very, very hard to find. In rock and roll, sound's incredibly important. You have quite a limited structure, you know, and one of the components, especially in a live show, is volume as well as sound, you know. With recording, rock and roll pushed the way we record things to get clarity and power and everything that we accept now. And if you don't have that, when you play against other records, there's something missing. So the ability to capture that power and make people believe that they're getting the same impression they would if they're in a live concert. I mean, it's if you don't have that, the record doesn't sound right. It's got to sound powerful. Assuming you're talking about powerful music, you know. And again, Mr. Ezrin is very, very knowledgeable about how to do it, where to do it. When we were doing it, you go in, first take, 2 takes. There's no messing around for 2 or 3 hours trying to get a sound. You go in there, it's great, and then it gets better.
What makes a good song? Good song to me is something that surprises me. You hear so much, there's so much music out, and some great music too. Even now there's some great music. But once you've heard a verse and a chorus and you know what's coming next, it kind of loses its interest for me, which is why I don't listen to a lot of current pop or hard rock or anything like that. I listen to a lot of diverse, different kinds of music because I want to be stimulated by music, not just entertained.
I think Ray Charles said the best thing. He said, it's something that from the first 2 or 3 bars, you know it. You know, it's all been, you've said everything in the first 3 bars. Like, take these chains from my heart was what he was talking about. He said, once you've said that, you don't have to say anything more, because it's been said and everybody's involved and we're all part of the same thing. It's striking a common chord with people. I mean, that's what the Beatles did. I don't really understand how they did it, but that's what they did. They connected with every single person. You couldn't unhear it.
It's a different world now, partly because it's a different world and partly because we're not of that age anymore. For us then, it was just life. And what happened to the hair bands of the 80s and the 90s is that they started imitating life. Life became a kind of a stereotypical choice of lifestyle, whereas us, it wasn't a choice, it was just, it's what we did.
Yeah.
And I think you're right, the day to day, it wasn't all completely wild. It's just, as you look back decades, it becomes condensed into a wild time. And it's only looking back that you realise that it was a magic time. At the time, it didn't seem that magic.
Just the time.
You just accepted it day by day. Oh, yeah, this guy called Hendrix, oh, great. You didn't think ahead as to what you would think looking back 20 or 30 years.
The great thing about that time was we had no machines, no technology, and we had a lot more time, didn't we?
Yeah,
to
sure.
do fun stuff.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's part of it too. Well, that's the interesting thing now, finding which of these new songs will work in a stage environment.
It's I think probably of all the things that we have to do, I think that's the most challenging, is putting together and keeping fresh a good stage set. We never used to do what we thought people wanted us to do. We always did, being ornery, like most bands, I think, of our kind. We did what pleased us and what made us feel good, and with keeping our fingers crossed that the audience would like it too. And I think that if you do something that your heart and soul is in, that you really think that you've got a good set and you're happy about it, then that transmits itself to the audience. Hopefully it always has done, and I hope it will continue to go that way.
If you're a new band, it's really easy. You play your album. This is going to be the 20th album. Now, you cannot even take one song from each album. You couldn't do that in a night. You won't have enough time. So it's the toughest thing, as Ian said, we have to do. We've got to be very, very selective and very cruel sometimes. And we have to, I mean, we don't compromise, but on some things we have to say, well, you can't do that and that. You know, something has to go. And it's tough.
And there's also sort of magic ingredients where suddenly 2 songs just blend together, and then you get the flow and the dynamics. You've got to have texture, you've got to have dynamics in a show, and you've got to, you know, you can't make it too demanding on an audience. You've just got to enjoy yourself, and okay, you want to have a clap there, you can have a clap there and whatever, but you know.